What happens when a British prince walks into America's most controversial talk show and refuses to back down from one of television's most outspoken hosts? The answer will shock you. This is the story of how Prince Harry's appearance on The View turned into a televised battle that ended with security being called and a royal exit that nobody saw coming. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below, because this confrontation exposed truths that the royal family never wanted. America to hear. The studio audience buzzes with anticipation as Prince Harry makes his entrance onto The View's iconic set. Joy Behar, never one to hold back, wastes no time cutting straight to the heart of the matter that has America divided. Prince Harry, let's talk about what everyone's really thinking. Joy begins, her voice carrying that familiar edge that regular viewers know all too well. You've spent years now criticizing the institution that gave you everything the same. Institution that millions of people around the world respect and admire. Don't you think there's something a bit rich about biting the hand that fed you? Harry's jaw tightens slightly, but his voice remains measured. Joy, with respect, I think you're mischaracterizing what I've been doing. I've been speaking my truth about experiences that were harmful, not just to me, but to my wife and our children. When you see your family being hurt by an institution's silence, you have to ask yourself what matters more: loyalty to that institution or protecting the people you love. Oh, speaking your truth, Joy's voice drips with skepticism. That's become quite the catchphrase, hasn't it? But here's what I don't understand. You grew up with unimaginable privilege. You had the best education money could buy. You lived in palaces. And now you're complaining about it? There are people in this country who can't afford health care, who are struggling to put food on the table, and you're upset because someone asked about your baby's skin color. The audience shifts uncomfortably as the tension in the room becomes palpable. Harry leans forward, his composure beginning to crack. That's exactly the problem. You're acting like because I had material privilege, I should accept that my wife and child should face discrimination. Would you tell a wealthy Black American that they have no right to speak about racism because they're successful? Joy's eyes flash with irritation. Don't you dare try to lecture me about racism in America. Harry, I've been fighting for civil rights since before you were born. But what you're doing isn't fighting racism. It's airing your family's dirty laundry for profit while wrapping it in social justice language, for profit. Harry's voice rises, causing several audience members to lean forward. You think this has been profitable for me? I lost my family, my home, my sense of belonging. I've been vilified by the press, threatened by strangers, and had my military service questioned. But I did it because silence in the face of injustice is complicity. Sunny Hostin jumps in, trying to de-escalate, but Joy waves her off. No, let him finish. I want to hear more about how hard his life has been. This isn't about my life being hard, Harry shoots back, his royal composure fully abandoned now. This is about a system that protects itself at the expense of truth. The same system that hounded my mother to death is now targeting my wife, and you're asking me to stay quiet about it? The mention of Princess Diana sends a visible ripple through the studio. Joy pauses for a moment, perhaps recognizing she's touched a nerve, but then doubles down. Your mother was beloved around the world, Harry. She didn't need to go on television shows and podcasts to tell her story. She let her actions speak for themselves. She worked with charities. She visited AIDS patients when it was controversial. She walked through minefields to bring attention to humanitarian causes. That's how you create change, not by doing interview after interview about how misunderstood you are. Harry's face reddens, and his voice becomes sharp with emotion. You think my mother stayed quiet? She gave that interview with Martin Bashir precisely because she felt she had no other way to tell her truth. And look what happened to her after. That, the same machine that destroyed her, is still running. Joy, and it's still destroying people. So your solution is to keep feeding that machine. Joy fires back. Every interview you give, every documentary you appear in, every time you speak publicly about your family, you're giving them exactly what they want. More drama, more headlines, more reasons to intrude on your life. I'm giving them the truth. Instead of letting them create their own version of it, Harry responds, his voice now carrying a dangerous edge. But I can see that concept is foreign to you. The audience gasps audibly. Whoopi Goldberg shifts uncomfortably in her chair. Sensing that this conversation is spiraling beyond the usual heated debate that The View is known for, Joy's face hardens. "Excuse me, did you just suggest that I don't understand truth?" "Let me tell you something, Your Highness. I've been in journalism longer than you've been alive. I've covered real stories about real people facing real problems. I don't need lessons. In truth, from someone whose biggest hardship was choosing between a life of luxury in England or a life of luxury in California. My biggest hardship," Harry says, his voice now dangerously quiet, "was watching my wife contemplate suicide because of the treatment she received from your beloved institution and the press that enables it. My biggest hardship was explaining to my son why people say horrible things about his mother because of the color of her skin. But please, Joy, tell me more about real problems." The studio falls into stunned silence. Even Joy seems momentarily taken aback by the raw emotion in Harry's voice, but she recovers quickly, and when she speaks again, her tone is ice. "You want to talk about your wife's mental health struggles?" Joy's voice cuts through the silence like a blade. "Then let's talk about accountability, because while she was dealing with whatever she was dealing with, you both were planning your exit strategy, weren't you? You were already in talks with Netflix, already thinking about book deals, already plotting your Hollywood comeback before you even left the royal family." Harry's hands clench into fists on the armrest of his chair. "That is absolutely not true, and you know it. We reached out for help within the institution. We asked for support. We begged for protection from the press, and we were told that nothing could be done. It wasn't until after we realized we were on our own that we started looking for ways to support ourselves." "Support yourselves." Joy laughs, but there's no humor in it. "You signed deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Most people would call that hitting the lottery, not supporting yourself. Most people don't have to hire their own security. Because the institution that's supposed to protect them decides they're not worth protecting anymore," Harry fires back. "Most people don't have to worry about their children being kidnapped or killed because of who their parents are." Anna Navarro attempts to interject with a question about the charitable work Harry continues to do. But Joy cuts her off with a sharp gesture. "Let's stay focused here, Anna. I want to understand something, Harry. You say the institution failed you, but isn't it convenient that every single person who's ever had a problem with that institution happens to be someone who left it? Your Aunt Margaret complained about it. Your Uncle Edward abdicated because of it, and now you're following the same pattern. Maybe the problem isn't the institution. Maybe the problem is people who can't handle the responsibility that comes with the privilege." Harry's voice becomes dangerously quiet again. "Are you seriously comparing my situation to the Duke of Windsor? A man who abdicated to marry a woman, then spent World War II cozying up to Nazis. That's your comparison?" The audience erupts in shocked murmurs. Sarah N. covers her mouth with her hand. Even the camera operators seem to shift nervously behind their equipment. Joy's eyes blaze with fury. "Don't you dare twist my words. I'm talking about a pattern of behavior, not specific actions. I'm talking about people who want all the benefits of being royal without any of the sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" Harry stands up abruptly, causing his microphone to feedback briefly. "You want to talk about sacrifice? I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. I walked away from the only life I'd ever known. I've been estranged from my father and brother for years. I've had death threats against my children, but according to you, I'm just some spoiled brat who couldn't handle the responsibility. Then why don't you go back?" Joy stands as well, pointing an accusatory finger at him. "If you're so committed to service, if you care so much about the Commonwealth and the causes you claim to support, why don't you go back and work within the system instead of tearing it down from the outside? Because the system is broken." Harry's voice echoes through the studio. "Because it's built on maintaining silence about uncomfortable truths. It's built on protecting the institution at the expense of the individuals within it. And it's built on a foundation that says some people matter more than others based on nothing more than the circumstances of their birth." "Oh, spare me the revolutionary rhetoric," Joy shoots back. "You're not Malcolm X, Harry. You're not Martin Luther King. You're a privileged prince who's upset that being royal isn't as fun as you thought it would be." The comparison hits Harry like a physical blow. His face goes pale, then flushes with anger. "How dare you diminish the real struggles of civil rights leaders by suggesting I'm comparing myself to them? I never claimed to be fighting the same fight they fought. But that doesn't mean the fight I am fighting isn't valid. What fight? Joy's voice reaches a crescendo. What exactly are you fighting for, Harry? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're fighting for the right to be famous without responsibility, wealthy without obligation, and respected without earning it. I'm fighting for the right to protect my family, Harry roars, his composure completely shattered now. I'm fighting for the right to speak truth without being silenced. I'm fighting for the right to live as a human being instead of as a symbol that other people get to define. Whoopi finally stands up, clearly trying to regain control of the situation. Okay, let's all take a breath here. This is getting a little too heated. But Joy ignores her completely, laser-focused on Harry. You know what your real problem is? You can't decide if you want to be a victim or a hero. You want sympathy for your struggles, but you also want credit for your courage. You want privacy, but you also want platforms. You want to be left alone, but you also want to control the narrative. You can't have it both ways. Harry's voice drops to barely above a whisper, but it carries clearly through the studio's sound system. My real problem, Joy, is that I'm talking to someone who's decided that because I was born into privilege, I'm not allowed to have feelings. I'm not allowed to make mistakes, and I'm not allowed to grow or change or learn from my experiences. You've decided that my pain doesn't count because other people have it worse. Your pain doesn't count when you use it to hurt other people, Joy snaps back. Every time you go public with another family secret, every time you give another interview about how terrible your life has been, you're hurting people who can't defend themselves publicly. You're hurting your grandmother, you're hurting your father, you're hurting your brother. And for what? So Americans can feel sorry for the poor little prince. The accusation about hurting his grandmother, particularly given her recent passing, causes something in Harry to snap completely. His voice becomes cold and controlled in a way that's somehow more frightening than his earlier outbursts. Don't you ever, ever use my grandmother's memory to score points in an argument. She understood why I made the choices I made, even if she didn't agree with all of them. She knew that sometimes protecting your family means making difficult decisions that other people won't understand. Joy senses she's crossed a line, but instead of backing down, she doubles down. Then why didn't she stop you? If she understood so well, if she supported your decision, why didn't she publicly defend you when the press was attacking you? Why didn't she use her influence to protect Meghan from the racist coverage you claim was happening? The question hangs in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Harry stares at Joy for a long moment, his chest rising and falling rapidly. When he finally speaks, his voice is filled with a mixture of grief and rage that makes everyone in the studio uncomfortable. She didn't defend me publicly because that's not how the monarchy works. And you know it, Harry's voice trembles with barely contained emotion. She couldn't take sides without undermining the very institution she spent 70 years serving. But she called me after every attack. She listened when I told her what was happening, and she never once told me I was wrong for protecting my wife and children. So don't you dare suggest that her silence meant she didn't care. Joy's expression hardens further. How convenient that the one person who could contradict your version of events isn't here to do it anymore. How convenient that you can claim she supported you when she can't speak for herself. The studio goes dead silent. Even the camera operators stop moving. Whoopi's mouth falls open in shock. Sarah N. actually gasps audibly. The line has been crossed so far that there's no going back. Harry's face goes completely white, then red with fury. When he speaks, his voice is so quiet that the audience has to strain to hear him, but the words cut through the silence like a knife. Get me out of here now. Oh, are we running away now? Joy taunts, apparently oblivious to the fact that she's just committed career suicide on live television. Is this how you handle all your problems? Just walk away when someone asks you the hard questions. Harry turns to face her directly, and something in his expression makes Joy take an involuntary step backward. You just used my dead grandmother to win an argument on daytime television. You just suggested that I'm lying about her final conversations with me to score points with your audience. That's not asking hard questions, Joy. That's being cruel. For the sake of being cruel, Whoopi finally finds her voice. Joy, that was completely out of line. But Joy, either too proud or too stubborn to back down, keeps going. I'm asking the questions that everyone else is too polite to ask. I'm saying what everyone else is thinking. This whole victim narrative falls apart when you actually examine it closely. What victim narrative? Harry's voice rises again, but this time there's something different in it. Something that makes the security guards near the edge of the set start moving closer. I never asked to be a victim. I never wanted sympathy. I wanted understanding. I wanted people to see that behind all the privilege and the titles and the ceremony, there are real human beings dealing with real problems. But apparently that's too much to ask from someone like you. Someone like me. Joy's voice becomes shrill. What exactly do you mean by that? I mean, someone who's made a career out of tearing people down for entertainment. Someone who thinks that because you're on television, you have the right to say whatever you want about people's families, their pain, their losses. Someone who's forgotten that there's a difference between holding people accountable and just being cruel. The audience is completely silent now, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. Several producers can be seen moving frantically in the background, clearly trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. Joy's face contorts with rage. Don't you lecture me about cruelty, you hypocrite. You want to talk about tearing families apart. What do you think you've been doing for the past 3 years? What do you think happens to your father every time you give another interview about what a terrible parent he was? What do you think happens to your brother when you publish books about private conversations you had with him? At least I'm telling the truth about my own experiences, Harry shoots back. I'm not making up stories about other people's relationships with their dead relatives. That does it. Joy lunges forward, pointing her finger directly at Harry's face. You arrogant, entitled, selfish little boy. You think because you're a prince, you can come on my show and insult me. You think because you married an American, you understand America. You don't understand anything. Harry doesn't back down. Instead, he steps closer to Joy, and his voice becomes ice cold. What I understand is that I'm looking at someone who's spent so many years attacking people that she's forgotten how to have a normal human conversation. What I understand is that you're so desperate to be relevant that you'll say anything, hurt anyone, cross any line to get a reaction. How dare you, Joy hisses. How dare I? What? Tell the truth. I thought that's what you wanted. Whoopi stands up and physically moves between them. That's enough. Both of you. This ends now. But Joy pushes past Whoopi. No, let him finish. Let him tell me more about how I don't understand truth. Let the privileged prince explain journalism to me. Harry looks at her with something approaching pity. I don't need to explain anything to you, Joy. You've shown everyone exactly who you are today. You've shown them that when push comes to shove, you'll use a grieving man's relationship with his dead grandmother as ammunition in a television argument. You've shown them that your version of holding people accountable is just cruelty dressed up as journalism. Joy's voice cracks slightly. Get out! Get off my show! Gladly. Harry turns to leave, then stops and looks back at her. But just so we're clear, this isn't your show, Joy. It belongs to all of you, and to the audience, and to the people who tune in, expecting to see intelligent discussion about important issues. What they got today was a masterclass in how not to conduct an interview. He starts walking toward the exit. But Joy's voice follows him. Run back to your mansion, Harry. Run back to your Netflix deals and your tell-all books. But don't pretend you're some kind of hero. Heroes don't abandon their families. Harry stops dead in his tracks. The entire studio holds its breath. Slowly, he turns around one final time. You're right, Joy. Heroes don't abandon their families. They protect them, even when it costs them everything else. His voice carries clearly across the silent studio. I chose my wife and children over an institution that was hurting them. I chose love over duty, truth over silence, and my family's well-being over other people's expectations. If that makes me a villain in your story, I can live with that. As he reaches the exit, security guards move to escort him out, but he waves them off. I can find my own way out. Thank you. The camera follows him as he walks off the set with his head held high, leaving behind a studio full of stunned faces and one very shaken host who has just realized that she may have gone too far this time. Whoopi tries to regain control as they cut to commercial. Well, that was something else entirely. We'll be right back. But everyone knows that after what just happened, there's no going back to normal. The damage has been done, the lines have been crossed, and America has just witnessed one of the most explosive television moments in recent memory. What did you think of this incredible showdown? Did Joy go too far, or was Harry being too sensitive? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more shocking celebrity confrontations that you won't see anywhere else.